The game began with a surge of energy that stunned everyone watching. Indiana ripped off a 10-0 run, forcing Minnesota into a timeout before they could even blink. The Fever weren't waiting for their opponents to settle in. They weren't surviving. They were attacking, dictating the flow, proving that even without their superstar Caitlin Clark on the floor, they had no intention of folding. You could feel it in the way they moved, in the way they communicated, in the way they refused to back down. This wasn't a team limping toward the postseason. This was a team rewriting its story in the locker room afterward. Kelsey Mitchell spoke words that carried more weight than any stat line. She didn't gloat about her own points. She didn't dwell on the absences. Instead, she pointed to the growth of her team. Simple, direct, but powerful. It was a statement that defined everything this Indiana squad has been building toward. Because what they're showing now is bigger than just winning a game. They're showing what happens when a group that's been doubted all season leans on resilience instead of excuses. Think about it. 5 key players were missing. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, and Ari McDonald. That's not just depth. That's the foundation of a rotation. For most franchises, losing that much talent at once is the end. The locker room turns quiet, the energy dips, and suddenly, the playoff dream starts slipping away. And for Indiana, it almost did. Just weeks ago, they had dropped 4 of 5 games. The air around the franchise felt heavy, as if a season that had promised so much was about to collapse. But that collapse never came. Instead, Stephanie White leaned into a mantra that echoed through the roster: be where your feet are. Forget who isn't available. Forget the headlines about Clark, or the chatter about the injuries. Focus on who's on the court right now. Play the possession in front of you. Compete with what you've got. That mindset shifted everything. It forced every player to look around the room and ask not what they were missing, but how they could contribute. The results were immediate. Against Minnesota, the Fever didn't look like a team pieced together from backups and fill-ins. They looked like a squad built on grit. Aaliyah Boston dominated the glass, tying her own rebounding records, while orchestrating offense from the post like a guard trapped in a center's frame. Every double team she drew created space for shooters, and she made the Lynx pay for every rotation. Odyssey Sims, a name many had written off, came off the bench like she had been waiting her whole career for this chance. 15 points, steady ball handling, and a calming presence that turned a patchwork lineup into a machine. And then there was Aerial Powers, silencing the crowd with back-to-back threes just as Minnesota threatened to claw back. Those shots weren't just points. They were momentum shifters. Daggers that carried the swagger of a veteran who refuses to blink. Lexi Hull chipped in everywhere, switching seamlessly on defense, pestering bigger opponents, and hitting the kind of shots that steady a team in crunch time. Natasha Howard balanced the front court with Boston, stretching the floor while still battling under the rim. The box score by the end told the real story. 5 players in double figures. That wasn't luck. That was depth, commitment, and trust, showing up when it mattered most. And all the while, Caitlin Clark sat on the bench in warm-ups, locked in on every possession. She wasn't sulking about being sidelined. She was engaged, analyzing opponents, sharing advice, fueling her teammates with energy from the sidelines. Her presence was felt even without a single shot taken. That's the kind of culture shift this team has embraced. Stars or no stars, this roster refuses to go quietly. At the center of it all is Kelsey Mitchell. She isn't just carrying the offense in Clark's absence, she's rewriting the history of the Indiana Fever. For the first time in franchise history, a player is averaging more than 20 points per game across a season. Think about what that means. This isn't just another scoring streak. This is a decade's worth of drought being erased by sheer consistency. Opponents are throwing everything at hurt traps, double teams, denials, and she's still finding ways to score and, more importantly, to lead. It's not the wild shots or the isolation plays that define her now. It's the patience. The way she knows when to attack and when to trust her teammates. That growth has opened the door for role players to shine. Sims looks confident because Mitchell feeds her at the right moments. Powers steps into threes because she knows the offense will swing her the ball. Even Boston benefits from Mitchell's gravity, finding cleaner looks inside because defenses can't afford to ignore Indiana's scoring. Leader, and when the game against the Lynx was over, it wasn't her stat line that mattered most. It was her words. "You've seen our growth," she told the locker room. For words, but they cut to the heart of what this season has become. This isn't a team defined by Clark's absence or by the injuries. It's a team defined by its refusal to back down. By the way, it keeps reinventing itself in the face of adversity. And by the way, its leaders point to the collective instead of the individual. That's why Indiana's turnaround matters. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. This was supposed to be about collecting experience, laying groundwork, and maybe sneaking into the postseason. Instead, they're putting together their first winning record since 2015. And they're doing it while proving they can win without their brightest star. That's not just overachieving. That's culture being built in real time. Stephanie. White has hammered home the idea that the standard matters more than the scoreboard. It's not about playing to the level of the opponent, it's about playing to their own. That's why rookies are contributing. That's why veterans are stepping into new roles. And that's why even in the most chaotic moments, the Fever have found calm. It's a lesson in resilience. And it's a glimpse of what the future might hold. Because when Caitlin Clark returns, she's coming back to a team that looks nothing like the one she left. She'll step into a lineup where Mitchell has become an MVP candidate. Boston is anchoring both ends of the floor with dominance. And the bench has proven it can swing games on its own. Add in a newfound chemistry forged in the fire of adversity, and suddenly the Fever aren't just a team with potential. They're a team with belief. Kelsey Mitchell deserves enormous credit. She's carried this franchise through doubt, through years of mediocrity, and now through one of the most remarkable stretches in team history. And she's done it with a balance of humility and fire. She doesn't ask for days off. She doesn't rest unless she has to. She shows up every game, ready to compete. That reliability is what makes her teammates trust her, and what makes her words echo long after the game. Ends. You've seen our growth. Those words weren't flashy, but they were the clearest statement yet that this team isn't satisfied. Making the playoffs isn't the end goal. It's just the beginning. They've clawed their way into relevance. But the real prize is still ahead. So now the Fever face the playoffs with momentum, with belief, and with a core that feels more dangerous than it has in a decade. They've proven they can win with half a roster, with role players thrust into starting jobs, with the weight of doubt on their shoulders, and they've done it with unity. That's the story of this season. Not just survival, but transformation. The Indiana Fever of 2025 are no longer a rebuilding project. They're a contender in the making. And if this stretch has shown anything, it's that their window isn't opening years from now. It's opening right now. What do you think, Fever fans? Is this the year Indiana shocks the league and turns resilience into a playoff run? Or is this just the start of something even bigger down the road? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of this incredible ride.